So, last day of sector, all done and wrapped up. It's kind of like old home week, you know, you run into a whole bunch of people and you do sort of HallCon, which is not surprising when you've gone to like 10 of these and a whole bunch of other security conferences. Gave like 2 talks, I think. Well, one of them was a fail panel, that doesn't count. Launched my G-tool, so check that out, please. My voice doesn't normally sound like this. I think I got a case of conference laryngitis or something. It's too much talking, obviously not enough listening on my part. Congratulations, Sector, your 10th anniversary conference. That's pretty awesome. I remember first year when it started, I saw a sort of an open source malware session, which I really liked. A lot of good tools you spoke about. I just learned about something called Thug, which is a honey client, which is kind of nifty, how to safely finally get malware without getting totally pwned with your own browser. Brendan, whose name escapes me, USS Joint. Brendan O'Connor gave a talk as well on the on Peel's Principles of Policing. Relates back to when the City of London created their own unified police force, and how they got the public to be okay with it. And there were a lot of parables to how maybe security is not so popular, and get users and employees on board with security programs. Oh yeah, and we did a Liquidmatrix Security podcast recording, so hopefully that'll be up by the time I put this up. So this year I did a fail panel on top of my own talk. Fail panels are kind of a funny thing, because if you look at what the DEF CON fail panels, or I guess DEF CON comedy jams, they were far more brutal and honest. There were also a hell of a lot of riot, and I'm pretty sure they were alcohol enhanced. And not that you can't have fun without drinking, kids. Well, you can. But doing fail panel in Toronto is kind of a more conservative affair, because if you're a consultant, then hey, be careful, and if you're a full-time employee somewhere, then you got to be careful. And it's not the same feel as what's at DEF CON, but still have fun. And James Arlen likes to orchestrate the madness, and it's not so much madness, it's just sort of a chat. And one day I'll figure out how to get him to let us dive into more meaningful questions and get alcohol if they'll let us do that or something. I don't know. It was fun. I sat next to Ophi Chan and Nick Alex, and known Ophi for years, and Nick I've just met, and they're both solid folks, and so it was fun to have sort of back and forth. Yeah, totally wish that you could talk more about the juicy stuff. We need that as an industry, right? Being able to talk about our fails openly, but there's always somebody in the crowd that's going to take notes or write something or say something. There isn't this trusted veil of anonymity. I think the Blue Jays might win tonight. I gave a talk, launched my open source tool called G-tool, which that's not bad. 6 months of work, and there you are. Kelman of former Checkpoint fame, Kelman Mayhew. Sorry if I butcher his name all the time. I did a good talk on serverless. Serverless in the cloud thingy, serverless applications, serverless infrastructure. That's not right, but running serverless. Wasn't quite what I was expecting, because for me, when you talk serverless, you're talking like Lambda functions on AWS, and he was talking more about Docker, so containers, Kubernetes, whatever, and having this really small pieces of code that delivered things, and they weren't so much serverless, more as kind of ephemeral servers that could just be blown away and reconstituted. But he did have some interesting points, and I think for a lot of the audience listening to the questions that came from them, this whole world of serverless is totally new to them, and I think there are going to be a bunch of security folks in big enterprises in Canada over the next few years encountering this serverless. What do you mean? Why haven't you hardened a server? Because I don't have one. So that'll be fun. One of the design patterns that Kelman created, which I thought was really cool and is worth studying more, is this whole idea of a system that generates authentication credentials. His certificate generator made it totally ephemeral and black box to himself, and I like that idea, because that meant that he couldn't interfere with the process that provided security. So there's actually this interesting pattern that he developed for making an application secure to the point that the administrator couldn't impersonate another user. And so now it's kind of this concept of trust by code. And I thought that was a really novel implementation. We saw Chris Polk stand up and talk about behavioral economics, so he didn't call the talk that, but an interesting insight for a lunch crowd. So that's a sector. The Jays lost. I don't know much about sports ball, so I'm told that was the most likely outcome. That sucks.